Today, we are diving into a huge challenge for anyone leading in education. How do you get new technology to actually stick? Well, here's a spoiler. The secret isn't about being the boss. It's about empathy. Let's get into it. You know the feeling, right? That moment a new digital tool gets announced, and instead of excitement, you can almost feel the tension in the room. It feels less like an opportunity and more like an uphill battle. So why does this happen over and over again? Well, here's the thing. The problem is usually that we get so caught up in the shiny new tech, the what, that we completely forget about the people who have to use it, the who. We forget that teachers are dedicated professionals with their own ways of doing things, their own expertise, and yeah, their own very real fears about change. So to lead through this effectively, you've got to understand the psychology that's at play. Let's pull back the curtain and look at two really powerful models that explain the mechanics of how we as humans react to something new. First up is something called the Technology Acceptance Model, or TAM for short. Now, this theory is fantastic because it boils everything down to two fundamental questions that all of us ask ourselves, usually without even realizing it, before we decide to try something new. It really breaks down into these two simple ideas. First, you've got perceived usefulness. An educator is thinking, is this actually going to make my teaching better, or is it just more work? And second, there's perceived ease of use, which is basically, can I figure this thing out without wanting to throw my computer out the window? If the answer to either of those is a no, well, good luck getting anyone to use it. And that's the bottom line, right? If you can't clearly show that a new tool is both useful and user-friendly, you're fighting a losing battle before you even start. This isn't about top-down mandates. It's about meeting these very basic, very human needs. Okay, so the next piece of the puzzle comes from Rogers' diffusion of innovation theory. This model is so helpful because it reminds us that in any group of people, not everyone is going to jump on the bandwagon at the same time. People adopt change at different speeds, and that's not just okay, it's completely normal. Just think about your own team for a second. I bet you can picture these groups. You've got your innovators, that tiny percentage who are always first in line for something new. Then the early adopters, who are eager to check it out. But look at this. The huge chunk in the middle is the early and late majority. They need to see that it works before they commit. And of course, you'll always have a few laggards who are the most cautious of all. And this realization leads to a huge shift in what a leader's job actually is. Your role isn't to try and force everyone into that little 2.5% innovator slice. No way. It's to figure out where people are on this curve and give them the right support to help them take their own next step on their own timeline. Alright, now let's talk about something we usually see as a huge negative: resistance. What if I told you that resistance isn't the enemy? What if it could actually be your single greatest resource? This is such a game-changing idea. When a teacher pushes back on our new initiative, it's almost never because they're just being difficult. As Dr. Fauvet puts it, it's often an act of deep professional care. They care about their students, they care about their craft, and they care about their time. They're the ones asking the really important questions. Will this new gadget just distract from the real business of teaching? Or could this actually create a new roadblock for my students who are already struggling? And the big one, is this just tech for tech's sake, or will it genuinely improve learning? These aren't just complaints, these are crucial professional concerns. So, if resistance is a resource, how in the world do you actually use it? Well, this brings us to what I like to call the Wayfinder's Toolkit, a practical set of strategies for leading with empathy. It really just comes down to three key actions. You've got to listen to what that resistance is really telling you. You need to actively build people's confidence, and you must always, always, always put the teaching and learning first. First, just listen. When a teacher tells you they're skeptical, your first instinct might be to argue back. Don't. Instead, treat their skepticism like free, incredibly valuable feedback. They're literally showing you the potential problems and giving you a golden opportunity to fix them before you roll something out to everyone. Second, build confidence. Remember that perceived ease of use thing we talked about? You tackle that head on by creating safe, low-stakes spaces for teachers to just play. Think of them as digital sandboxes, where it's totally okay to mess up, to explore and to learn without the pressure of having to perform. And finally, anchor every single thing in pedagogy. The conversation should never ever start with, hey, check out this cool new tool. It has to start with, we have this learning challenge we're facing. I wonder if this tool could help us solve it. The why has to be about learning every single time. Now, when you actually start to do these things, when you listen, build confidence, and focus on pedagogy, something really powerful starts to happen. You begin to shift the entire culture around technology in your school, moving away from a must-use mindset to a can-use reality. The whole goal is to change your role from being a manager who just enforces rules to being a wayfinder. A wayfinder is a guide. They know the destination, they understand the tricky parts of the journey, and they help their colleagues navigate the path safely and successfully. And this right here really captures the two different worlds a leader can create. On the one side, you've got that must-use culture. It's all top-down mandates, fear-based compliance, and the focus is just on the tool itself. But on the other side, you've got a can-use culture. It's built on collaboration, empathy, support, and the focus is always on the learning. It's the difference between forcing compliance and inspiring real, genuine engagement. At the end of the day, making this shift is about so much more than just getting a new app adopted. It's about ensuring that as our world becomes more digital, our schools and our classrooms remain deeply, fundamentally human-centered. So I'll leave you with this question to reflect on. When it comes to technology and change, are you acting like a manager, just enforcing a path? Or are you a wayfinder, guiding the journey? Thanks for tuning in.